Oh, so I just take my scoop like that. And you're going to put it right in the mushroom. Now, it's going to sink into the mushroom a bit because of the cheese. The cheese is going to do its thing. You could, I was going to bring some extra, but if you are at home, you could also drizzle a little bit more Parmesan on top. It just gets a little bit more crispy. Your mom will love you a little bit more. Well, obviously I'm Chef Abby. And this is my husband, Richard. And he is part of Cooking with Abby. He helps me a lot. We run the business out of our home, which I think you all know. And I have a cooking school and farm to table business, and I do some catering. Zoe asked me to do a couple appetizers. Before I open any pecans, do we have any allergies to pecans? No? Excellent. I love nuts. A lot of times I can't use nuts at schools or in public events, so I just like to make sure. So we're going to do a cranberry brie bread, which is, it's simple. I wanted you guys to take away some recipes that you would do. I think Thanksgiving can be very overwhelming for some people. For me, it's not overwhelming. It's just super labor intensive. It's a real tough meal to cook because you have to time everything. And while things are cooking, we're going to give samples of both the recipes to everybody. I did a Thanksgiving guide, which you can pick up in the back, or you could email me if you want to email me for it. And I can answer whatever questions you have. A lot of people have, and there's more recipes we can talk about. So don't be shy. I don't mind questions. And so we'll get started. So I'll do the mushrooms first because they take the longest to cook. The mushrooms in my family, if you don't make them, you get in a lot of trouble. Between now and Christmas, I make them many times. And my clients love them. So these are great because I love mushrooms because I'm making sausage stuffed mushrooms because really they're the best. But it's a great base for also a vegetarian mushroom. So if you have vegetarians, you can stuff them with quinoa, and you use the mushroom stems, for instance, and quinoa, and you can use panko breadcrumbs. This particular recipe does not use panko, but you can use panko. You can use gluten-free panko if you have gluten-free people in your family. If you don't know and you're having a party, I often use gluten-free panko breadcrumbs. One, because they're super crunchy and great, and two, because then anybody can eat it. So you can do lots of variations. And like I said, it's a great base. It stands up. They're strong. These mushrooms I happen to get at Market Basket. I suggested I think in my recipe to go to Costco or Market Basket because they do always have the biggest mushrooms for stuffing. If you're going to do baby bellas, those are great too. They're just smaller. So you just need more of them because people really, really like this. I stem them already, and I just put them on a baking sheet like this. So everybody will get one. No fighting, no fighting. I did a few extra because people get a little crazy. So then I did sausage. And what I do is the old roll sausage, Jimmy Dean or premium sausage. And I did I doubled the recipe just so I would have enough, and I will have enough. So sausage, it comes in the roll. What I do is I take it out and I take a pretty big pan. This was 2 rolls, and I flatten it in the pan. So if you're doing 2, just put the other half in the other pan, then flatten it like a big hamburger, and let it cook. And then you flip it once, and then you let it cook, and put a lid on the top that doesn't quite fit your pan, so it smushes down the meat. And then just turn off your your burner after it's cooked. I would say it's like 5 minutes each side. And what that does is it keeps the moisture in the sausage, but it makes it very easy to break up. You know how sometimes sausage, you're just like, it comes in big chunks, but this makes it very easy to break up. Something I always also say, just backtracking for a second, is one of the ways you can make your life really easy during Thanksgiving is to take all your recipes and mise them out. Mise en place is the French term which means to put in place, and you portion out all of your recipes before you start to cook. It's great because when you have, maybe your mother's coming in and saying, "Oh, that's not how I did it," and you're like, "Okay," or whatever. Maybe your sister's drinking too much wine because your mother's talking about this stuff. Anything can happen. So I always say, do this, but I do this for every class, and I teach this from when you're a young kid up to adults, because it really will help you stay organized. Then you can also see, oh my gosh, I forgot to get cranberries. You can even mise out all the perishable things, label them, like say cranberries, cranberry sauce, cranberry stuffing. Label it with some masking tape on your jar, and then just put it in the fridge if it needs to stay in the fridge. We can talk more about prep if you want to, but prep is the key to your success for any dinner, especially Thanksgiving. So back to the mushrooms. So I stem them. I already stemmed them. I'm going to cut these up, and we're going to put this in the sausage. The reason I cooked the sausage is just because I didn't want it spitting all over Zoe's tables. The other ingredients are, for this particular recipe, cream cheese. Cream cheese is your friend during the holidays. It binds a lot of things really well. The stems are going to pick up the moisture, so that's why we're using them. Again, you could add some breadcrumbs if you want to. And then we have, in here, I did Parmesan cheese and parsley. If you don't have fresh parsley, use dried. Just make sure with your dried parsley that you freshen it up. Don't have it in your cabinet for years. Parsley loses its taste as soon as it's opened. So I would suggest getting smaller jars of dried herbs and going through them. It won't hurt you. You just won't get the taste. Yes? Yeah, you could.
What is it?
Oh, what is the alternative? You know what? I'd have to look it up. Okay. There is. Maybe? Cheese. Oh, cheese? Yeah, she was asking for cream cheese though. So is that a creamy cheese?
I think they do it cream cheese. I have a dairy free in my house, so there's some alternatives at the grocery store.
Yeah, you can look them up. I had a Girl Scout troop where I had to do dairy-free, nut-free, gluten-free, and I actually ended up doing chicken and dumplings, believe it or not. And I can't remember the recipe, but if you email me, I have all the substitutions. I just don't know them off the top of my head. But yeah, all the grocery stores now have really nice Trader Joe's. Market Basket has everything. Big Y does some good. Big Y also. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to cut the stems. I'll show you how to do that. And we're going to do this recipe first and get them in the oven because, like I said, it takes longer than twice as long as the baked brie. So what I do, I was telling Zoe, I forgot to tell her about the table because this table is low. So pardon me, bending over. Hopefully you all can see. Let me just put that there. So always use a sharp knife. Always. Okay, so with these, you can do it all different kinds of ways. I'm just going to cut them up. I'm going to rough chop them, and then I'm going to put my knife through them so they get smaller. But I don't want to torture you by staying here for an hour watching me mince mushroom stems. My knife is very sharp. That is also very important. If you don't have sharp knives and you don't want to sharpen them yourself, take them to Ace Hardware in Hanover or most hardware stores and get them sharpened for Thanksgiving. there's a great YouTube video on how to carve a turkey by Jacques Pepin, who I was fortunate enough to learn from in culinary school. And yeah, that was fun. And and he is turning 89 this year. And but anyways, he's got a great video on what was I talking about? Shopping? Oh, carving a turkey. Yeah. And I basically learned how to really carve a turkey from him. And but you need a sharp knife. So what I'm doing, obviously you can see what I'm doing, but I'm just okay. Now you don't want too many to go through, so I'm just going to take my knife. I'm not that interested in them all being totally even, because mushrooms like this, they chop up very easily, and I won't have big, huge chunks putting my knife through them. What I also like about this recipe is there's very little food waste. I hate food waste, and I love that you can use the stems of the mushroom to put them back into the stuffing. Also, never drag your knife across the board. Always, it would be best to get a bench scraper. So these are cheap and cheerful. These are fabulous if you're cutting onions, vegetables, etc. Get these get one of these, because all you'll do is then you lift your vegetables right into your batter or mixture, probably a better word. And it's also great when you're baking and you spill sprinkles everywhere. They're really easy to pick up. Okay, also, I always talk a little bit about how to hold a knife. You might notice I'll pick up the knife 100 times. I always pick it up the same way. It's because now it's the memory of how you chop. But you always put your thumb, and I really shouldn't have nail polish, but his birthday was last week, so I'm thinking, well, I shouldn't be on TV with nail polish. But you put your thumb on the blade, and then you give your knife a good handshake, and your index finger comes over onto the other side. You're not really kissing, but it looks like you are. And that gives you, and then you shake your knife, and shake hands with your knife. And that gives you a lot more control. It will help you if you learn to do this, because, for instance, when you're cutting onions, when you're cutting wet things, when you're cutting meat, anything, it gives you the control that you need to stay, to not hurt yourself. You'll start to notice if you do have to change your knife grip, that when you hold it back here, it's really loosey-goosey, and that most accidents happen because people either get startled, or they, like in the kitchen, or they, it just slips out of their hand because they don't have a tight grip. So that's my PSA. This isn't terribly exciting to watch, I know. But it'll be over in a second. I'm not necessarily going to do them all. I just want to do these guys. And then we will Oh, Zoe, one thing. Do you happen to have a spatula? Yeah. So we moved this summer. We're just over on Cross Street now. My husband happened to, unfortunately, slip down the stairs the day the second moving truck left and broke 16 bones. So he's here. I brought him here as proof that doing your PT and listening to your doctor is very important. But also, it's funny because we have a lot of things that we can't find because we had these amazing groups of friends who came over and helped me pack because he was in the hospital. And a lot of the boxes say packed by friends. We love it, but we just don't know where things are. Okay, so that's what that looks like so far, okay? Then we're going to add the cheese. So I just doubled the recipe because I wanted to have enough for everybody. Oh, thanks. Yeah. Thank you. Another good thing to do is when you're measing and getting out your ingredients for whatever you're doing, also get out your tools. I'm hopefully writing my cookbook, and I started in my recipes adding the equipment because I noticed we actually, I had a client who wanted me to try HelloFresh. She's like, I just want to know, what do you think of the recipes? What do you think of the quality of the ingredients? And we actually order it, and I use it twice a week because Richard will cook dinner. He's a great cook, but it's great for him. My nephew's living with us and going to school. My daughter's home from, graduated and working, and so people will like grab the bag of ingredients, but their recipes also list all the equipment, and I'm like, oh, that's so brilliant. Yeah, so get your equipment out when you're cooking too, and then you don't have to look for things. It really just makes it so much nicer. You can just kind of put on the music, and depending on the time of day, get a glass of wine or a cup of tea and just start cooking. Okay, so then cream cheese, just cream cheese. I don't think there's, I love Philadelphia cream cheese, but I haven't noticed any difference buying Market Basket, so. And cream cheese is one of those ingredients that is great to keep in your refrigerator because it can be in so many things. You can like make an amazing cheese sauce for your macaroni and cheese with other like cheddar and mozzarella and Gouda. Cream cheese is a great binder. You can make dips, you can make desserts, you can make frosting with it. It's just so versatile. Okay. So I let this sit out on the counter for about an hour, mainly because I just want it soft enough to bind everything. If you don't, so like butter, if you forget to put butter out and you need butter to blend in with something, you can use a grater and grate it into your dough or your batter or whatever it is you're doing, and that'll soften it quickly enough. With cream cheese, you kind of really need to leave it out because microwave cream cheese just doesn't work the same. You want that, you want it to get hot when you cook it, not necessarily before you add it to your recipe. Okay, so I'm just going to put the whole thing in there. I'm just laughing because when I do the TV show, sometimes at the house, you have all this done like real TV, but in person, you have to do it yourself. Okay, so just take this out. Get it out of your package. Oh, shoot. All right, so then also, every kitchen should have gloves, even if you aren't cooking for the public, because they're great. The best tool in the kitchen is your hand, honestly. Especially, you wash your hands a million times, but dealing with chicken, dealing with fish, dealing with meat, dealing with cheese like this, putting on a glove, it's great. Quick, easy, efficient. Like I was doing sausage too earlier, and I wanted some of the fat, but I didn't want all the fat, and so I was kind of picking it out of the pan, and I was wearing a glove, don't worry. And it just makes it easier, so they're good to have. Okay, and then you can just go like that, and you're done. I have these wipes. Okay, so this is our batter. I'm just going to, or batter is such a weird word. Our mixture. And I'll bring it closer to me. And this is probably more than we need, but the other thing you can do, if you have more and you don't have any more mushrooms, is you can take it and you can make like little sausage patties, like for breakfast, or they're really good. Do like little sausage burgers, and you can put them on top of salad, or you can put them with crackers. Okay, like I just said, hands are the best tool, so instead of torturing you for another 10 minutes, I'm going to mix it with my hands. Do you have any questions? You're such a well-behaved group.
Hi, I just have a question. You mentioned at the beginning when you're cooking the sausage, you took the roll.
Yep.
And then you would flatten it.
Yeah, so, yep.
And then you just flatten it up before you eat on.
I just took it, like I cut it out of the package, you know, the Jimmy Dean rolls, and I flattened it down the pan. I had two, because I doubled it, and I just put the other one on the other side, so it looked like it filled the pan, so it looked like a big burger.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good way to cook sausage, anyways. Unless you're gonna make links or patties, you know, those are good rolls too. Like if you want to make a sausage patty for your family, like with eggs, or like a sausage, egg, and cheese muffin or something. So as you can see, I don't think John has an overhead camera. I don't know. But I'll show you this. As you can see, this goes really quickly when you use your hands.
Are you just like folding it from the outside in?
Yeah, I'm just, let me see. I'll show you. I'm just digging deep, like you want to make sure it gets to the bottom, and just moving it around. I also like this recipe a lot because the sausage is obviously cooked. So now if you want to taste it and eat it, you can. And you're not putting egg in there. Okay, so your gloves get a little cheesy, but that's okay, because you're going to turn them inside out. All right, the other thing I think you should always have is this size scoop. I don't know what size scoop it is. I can read it in a minute, but it's about 1.5 inches. And I would suggest having a bunch of different ones. If I was making hamburgers for you all, I have a food scoop. And so a couple reasons. You know it's the same size for every mushroom, so it's going to cook evenly. Same if I was making 20 burgers right now, I'd want them all to cook evenly, and I wouldn't want anyone to get gypped. So I use a measuring scoop, and that's what they're for. So these are really easy. And I'll put on this. We're going to cook these at 400 for about half an hour. Because we'll put those in right away, and then we'll make our brie bread. And then the brie bread takes about 20 minutes. So I just take my scoop like that. And you're going to put it right in the mushroom. Now, it's going to sink into the mushroom a bit because of the cheese. The cheese is going to do its thing. You could... I was going to bring some extra, but if you were at home, you could also drizzle a little bit more Parmesan on top. It just gets a little bit more crispy. Your mom will love you a little bit more. These are crowd pleasers, right? We laugh. My sister came up to help me with a big Christmas party one year. She's a great all my sisters are great cooks, but Catherine and I particularly like to cook together. And we had another person who was helping us, who's worked for me for a long time, but we looked over and there were 200 mushrooms on the rack, and Catherine's like, "Is the sausage cooked?" I was like, "It doesn't appear that it's cooked." So we had to redo. And the reason is one, they're just not going to necessarily cook long enough to cook through for sausage, but the fat released into the mushroom will kind of ruin it. It'll break it down. It's too much. You need something to deal with that fat ahead of time. So that's why we cook it. All right. Well, again, your hand. Yeah. So I had a couple that were kind of strong, and I just took my little paring knife and got them. But honestly, just pop them out with your hand. And if you're doing this, I wouldn't say don't wash them in water. If you want to clean them, take a wet paper towel. You don't want too much moisture. On the pan, oh, no. You could, but the mushrooms are going to release a lot of water, because mushrooms have a lot of water in them, and that makes kind of like a little au jus. You pick that up. That's why usually you see them served. I'll show you when we do it. I didn't bring like lettuce, but usually you bring lettuce or kale or chard or something to put them on, or like a bed of breadcrumbs and cheese you put them on, just to absorb the liquid. But I didn't want to spray the pan because they're not going to stick, and I don't want any more oil or liquid than I'll get. You don't need it with this. Sometimes you do with cookie dough, but not with this, because you've got the creamy cheese and the fat from the sausage. So it doesn't really need it. Say that one more time. When you serve it. So, like if I was putting them on trays for a party, depending, you just have to call it in the moment, because sometimes it doesn't need it. I like the idea of like parsley and breadcrumbs mixed as a base, so it looks like it's taking the ingredients that are in the mushroom, and then it's not a waste again, because no one minds a little crispy bottom to their mushroom. And what we'll do is, I think I have enough forks so you can taste the mixture. I always also say too, so a lot of people, I've always been pretty good since I started cooking a long time ago, but I learned it from my mother and my grandmother about timing. And the timing is important, and you have to give yourself time to make the recipe and to let it cook, and you have to kind of line up your recipes, especially for Thanksgiving, in the order that they're going to need to cook, because there's so many things you can do the day before. Mashed potatoes, you can prep the green bean casserole, you can prep any squash. Cranberry sauce is better, much better a few days later.
Talk about those mashed potatoes. So because I'm usually Googling, like, all right, what did I do last year? Or if I didn't post, is it the crock pot? Like, what method are you saying, like, make the actual?
Well, mashed potatoes I would make. I have lots of recipes for mashed potatoes if you want me to talk about them, but I tend to make a garlic butter mashed potato. So the rule is you usually use one like decent sized potato for each person. I boil them, and I have been using a ricer because I love the consistency that comes out through a ricer. You make them, and then you put them away. You make them like you were going to serve them, and then you cover them and put them in the fridge. The key is you make sure that they cool to room temperature. Never put hot things in your fridge. One, it brings the temperature of your fridge down, and it can make your other foods go bad. But also, if you don't cool it down to room temperature and you put it in the fridge, it shocks it. It kind of makes sense, right? So then when you take it out, I would let it sit on the counter, again, covered. You're in a controlled environment for about an hour, and then put them in the oven for about a half hour to heat up. And you can take a knife, like if you have as an example, like a thick Pyrex dish, take a knife and put a hole in it and drop a little butter in there. And that will help.
The texture remains good. And
I mean, I haven't had any complaints. Because everybody loves mashed potatoes. I get a lot of stuffing questions usually. I'm not a fan of stuffing the bird. Mainly because my mother terrorized me growing up, telling me that we could die if we stuffed the bird. She used to do it. She was a great, great cook. And then, all the articles. The main reason that is because you really have to clean your inside of your bird with really cold salt water. And you have to cook the stuffing to 165 degrees, and then you have to take it right out. You really can't leave stuffing in the bird for the next day. I wouldn't advise it. I don't think you're going to die. I think people have been doing it for years. I'm sure people do it. But people just advise against it because really the better bird is something that you fill with like citrus and oranges. Orange. I use apples, I use bacon, I use lemons, and some cranberries sometimes because it just smells. Oh, and onions. And you mix all those up in a bowl and then stuff your bird. And then I basket weave bacon over the top. But I do my stuffing outside. We eat later. We usually eat at like 5 or 6. Okay, so these are, sorry for the wait.
then you have to adjust the cooking time, right? If you're putting things into the bird.
Yeah, so you have to adjust the cooking time. I like to do a bird low and slow. I like to do it at 325 for longer. It tends not to dry it out as much. We can talk about brining versus not brining. I've done it both ways. I think it's really just depends on the bird. I don't know that brining really helps or doesn't help. Some people swear by it. If you're going to brine and you're going to brine wet, you have to have a big bowl or big pot. Okay, I have the oven on in there. Mm-hmm. Could you put these on the middle shelf?
Yeah. I'll start a timer.
Well, it's going to be half an hour. Okay, so in a little bit, when you guys want to, I'll just cover this, and if you want to come taste this, you can. I'm just going to clean up quickly.
Yes.
We don't have any real cross-contamination issues, but it's always good to clean up. If you have guests who have allergies, it's good to buy like a purple board for your house. We always use a purple board in the kitchen that lets people know, like no nuts have ever been on it, whatever the allergy might be. But usually those are nut-free boards. That would be one of the bigger ones. Shellfish is never on it. Okay, so those will start to smell really good in a minute. All right, so then our cranberry bread. So I do a couple different Brie, just favorites of my family, but also of clients. I do a stuffed Brie with crescent rolls. I don't know if crescent rolls are magic. Puff pastry. You can also buy the sheets of puff pastry. These are good things to have in your wheelhouse over the holidays. Fig jam, always have some fig jam. Always have, or strawberry or raspberry jam. That's another great one to put with Brie. And you can make these like quick little, instead of spending the $20 on the ones with the walnuts at the store where you're like, why is that $20? You could just have some ingredients because you can throw it together. Brie loves nuts. Brie loves walnuts and pecans and okay. So this is another, if you don't see sourdough bread, for instance, at the Big Y, ask them. They always have fresh sourdough on the racks in the back unless you go at, 11 o'clock at night. Today, literally, they needed like stop signs and lights because it was insane there. But but they always have that in the back if you don't see it out. And they make really nice sourdough bread. So this is actually Market Basket. I love Market Basket. Okay, so then this recipe is, I'm doing two so everyone can taste it. We've got the sourdough, we've got Brie. So this is 6, if you're doing one, you would use, I thought it said 16 ounces. I could be, 16-ounce wheel of Brie. So you need 2 because these are 8-ounce Bries. These are $3.99 at Market Basket. I'm telling you, they are delicious. You could send me to a French cheese shop and I would eat my weight in cheese. I'm just saying these are absolutely delicious. So I buy these because we're making a melty Brie situation. And pecans, cranberries. I just buy the bags of cranberries. And then brown sugar. That's all this recipe calls for. So I prepped my pan like a good girl. This is another thing I have because I'm constantly cooking. But these you can get on Amazon. I would love to send you to a local cute store to get them, but I don't know of one. So Amazon, and they're just parchment sheets for half sheet pans, and they're great. You get like 100, and no matter what you're doing, you just pull it out of your drawer and put it on your sheet pan. I'm going to keep one in case I need it. Okay, so I always say with recipes too, anybody who's cooked with me knows, like, it's just a guide, right? You don't like cranberries? Leave the cranberries out. But maybe you like dates or some other little berry. You could use blueberries. Blueberries and Brie go really nicely. So say you don't like cranberries, you like blueberries. It's fine to switch. Just remember that blueberries have a little bit more water in them, so you want to use less, so your bread doesn't get all wet, things like that. So I always say also read through your recipe, because a lot of times at the holidays we get caught out in having to put our dough in the refrigerator for an hour, or overnight, for instance. I was making something and I was like, I'll have to figure that out because I didn't read my recipe. So I always say read the recipe. And Richard always said to our daughter, our younger growing up, read the question. It seems so silly, right? But if you don't read the question all the way through on a test and you go to the answer, sometimes it's the wrong answer. Okay, so slice the bread. We're going to slice it horizontally and vertically. You seem challenged at the moment. I know it's horizontal and vertical. In 1-inch cubes, and we're going to be careful not to slice it all the way through because we want that base. Then we're going to combine 2 tablespoons. Oh boy, I forgot the butter. Okay, that's not. Do you happen to have any butter? If you don't, it's not a panic. Okay, if you don't, see, it's not a panic because we've got the Brie. The butter obviously just makes it a little bit better, but you're only using 2 tablespoons anyways, so this is a good example of don't panic. But we have the extra, we have the enough brie for each loaf, and that's the creaminess that we want. We've got the sugar, which will work well with the brie too, so that's okay. And then the cranberries are the tartness. So a lot of times, you know, when you have acid, oh, all right. Zoe saves the day. There's no mold that I can see. No mold. All right, this is great. All right, so 4 tablespoons of butter. Okay, perfect. So we have the exact amount that we need. So I'll just cut this now. Thanks, Zoe. I got so excited about my Kerrygold butter and olive oil that I forgot to grab a stick of oil. Butter, I mean. Kerrygold butter with olive oil in the tub is so delicious. Okay, so I'm just going to get the paper off these. Could I have you get the paper off these? Right there. Okay. Okay, so we'll cut the bread. This is a very sharp knife, so I'll see how this does. I'm going to go this way. Yeah. I'm telling you, I know I've said it, the sharp knife is a gift to yourself.
Do you have a particular brand that you use?
Well, this is a Japanese knife. So I have a little knife situation. I love knives, and so sounds a little weird, doesn't it? But you just need a good 8-inch chef knife. If that's all you, a chef knife, a paring knife, a carving knife, and a fish knife are really the only 4 knives you need in the kitchen. Sometimes a 7 or an 8-inch chef knife, depending on your hand size and what you feel comfortable with. KitchenAid actually makes a beautiful 8-inch chef knife, which I think is $129. It's worth it to buy the good knife because it really is your tool. You're in the kitchen every day. The Japanese knives are very good. You know, they're Shun. This is a special, it's a Mac Mighty. It was a chef on a chef blog, and I totally bought the Kool-Aid, and I love this knife. So I ordered it.
That one is pointed, like more pointed.
Yes.
And somehow, I haven't been able to, like when I pull out my pointed one, I always go back to the one that has the more sort of even
Even?
to it.
Well, this is because when you're like cutting vegetables and you're rocking, you know, and it's very sharp. So it just depends on your comfort level. I don't think it makes a difference, the preference. The key is you want one with a good handle, you want it well made, and you want it sharp. Those are the 3 things I would say.
But how it feels in your hand is so important.
Yeah, but most knives that I pick up, I mean, it's how you hold your knife too. You know, if you go down the line and pick it up the same way, and it's this etiquette of you and your knife, then you should feel comfortable with any size. Some people don't. It's just, and they get scared of it being super sharp. But the thing is, if you've ever cut your finger, like many times, it heals so quickly and it doesn't hurt nearly as bad as a dull blade. And I'm probably talking about this too much. I'm sure you get the idea. Okay. So then I'm just going to go this way. Okay, now I could go, I'm going to go halfway through this. This is also very pretty. This is something I would put on like a really pretty platter. I'm just breaking that apart, as you can see. That I would put on with a really pretty platter, and I would maybe get some rosemary and stick it out of the bottom, and then dribble some more cranberries on top, so it just looked really festive and pretty. he always laughs at me because people will come to pick things up, and I'll be like, well, if you have some rosemary, and I like tell them how to do it. He's like, you can't tell people what to do once they leave the house. I was like, I don't think she's going to use the rosemary. All right, so I'm going to do the exact same thing with this guy. This is such fresh, beautiful bread.
The bread is Big Y, not Market Basket.
This was Market Basket.
Oh, okay.
They're the ones that they have more baker. I mean, Big Y has a nice bakery too, but Market Basket is constantly baking all day, and I think they have a night shift. So if you don't see it, you can ask for it, and they have so many more racks, just bigger volume.
I have heard Big Y, so I'm glad I.
Okay, so see, it just looks like a little accordion kind of, right? Okay. So now we're going to combine the butter, although I need a little, I'm going to use this. Okay, that will not be bad. So we're going to do 2 tablespoons of butter, and we're going to do brown sugar, right? Is that what it says? Brown sugar, okay. Oh yeah, we're going to create a little crumble. We're going to use 4, actually. And then we'll do it again. And then pecans. So we're going to create a crumble like you would for like apple crisp. I'm going to just take, it says raw pecans chopped. So I'm just going to take them out of the bag, and I'm just going to do a little rough chop. I never think you can have enough nuts, but. Does anybody make candied pecans at Christmas? Or pecans? I should say pecans. They're very good. Okay, we'll just do a little bit more. Okay. I'm going to cut the brie up too. Okay, and I'm going to take, I was being a naughty and going, see, I was going ahead of my recipe. I'm going to take 2 of these out because we're going to put that into the slices of the bread. So I'll put 1 more handful of these, and then I'm just going to use my hand. And could you open the brie for me, honey? Okay. Brown sugar is a wonderful thing with cheese also. So I started to say salt, acid, what is that? Something heat. Yeah, that's a great book, and now I'll think of it. I just am having a moment, but you always want to counterbalance sweet with tart, so that's why the cranberries. You know, you don't want it to be, you've got the creamy brie, you've got the butter, the richness of it, you've got the yummy bread. Sourdough is kind of a nice bread, but it has a little tang to it, right? So that will be nice. Those are your cranberries and your pecans, yeah. And your bread are the things that aren't so sweet. Thank you. Usually I'm like, I'm thinking, and he's like, I'm like, oh yeah, exactly. Okay. Okay. Okay, so now just take. Okay, you're gonna have plenty of. Oh, there's a. You're gonna have plenty of cheese. So we're just sticking this kind of, willy-nilly into the bread. So the butter will go into the bread. This isn't a huge loaf. I mean, this, honestly, you put on your counter and you'll turn your shoulder and it'll be gone. Sometimes I'm really crazy and I add bacon bits. I do use the rind. Okay, we'll just stick this in here. This is fun with kids, to make with kids. Or like if people are around you bothering you to asking you for help, you could be like, oh, you can stick the cheese in the bread.
So is that the cheese now?
This is the cheese. I'm just kind of putting it where I made cuts. We might not need two. I'll see. You just want to make sure that you fill it because you want everybody to have a cheesy cranberry bite.
And that's just one wheel.
This is just one wheel. But I think that's enough, really. I mean, I'm not one to skip on ingredients, but I do. I think it's going to melt down and I'm still not done. So this is another question I get. Can I use a different loaf of bread? In this instance, I would say no, because, I mean, you could. But like if you use an Italian loaf, you know how it's more hollow in the center and it doesn't stand up? You want this like chewy, strong, you want the taste and you want the strength of the bread. Oops. Okay, and it looks kind of cute and pretty, right? It's going to be even cuter in a minute. Okay, so then I'm going to wear a glove only because I don't have a sink. Okay, so now we're going to just put this on top. And that's why it's also nice to have the parchment paper. No, fly, go away. Where's the fly? So this, I always say too, like I'm very into visually appealing food, obviously. But when something looks pretty and it's not baked, you can kind of tell it's going to be pretty and festive because it looks kind of nice this way. And then once all that, I just kind of place these on here. Once that Brie sinks into that bread, I mean, honestly, I've never met anything I like more. Yeah.
Is that like, they're like a full?
Yeah, I just picked a bag of, I picked what I would make cranberry sauce with, just bags of cranberries.
Thank you.
Yeah. They're
not dry, so, okay.
no. But I actually, that's one thing I don't do. You can buy the craisins, but I like that they release this juice from these and just tastes good. But yeah, you can do craisins.
You wouldn't chop those? Leave them whole?
I leave them whole. I just think it looks prettier. That's, what do we call that? Creative license. You just want to make sure when you're substituting something, like I said before, you know, like with the blueberries have more water than these. These will make like kind of like a jam, which I like. When you use the craisins or the dried cranberries, it's more chewy. Something smells good.
Looking pretty good. About 10 minutes left.
Okay. So yeah, so you just make a crumble. So you know, butter gets really, once it gets on your hand, it starts to melt. You don't really have to worry about it. As for this, you know, like when you're making pie, you sometimes have to stick your hand in ice water to keep your dough from cracking or whatever. Okay, that's that. We'll cut this one up. We can do, I wish I had crackers because we could do brie and crackers while you wait. I did a class for a corporation in Boston a few months ago, and we made individual charcuterie boards, and I bought, oh, I nicked myself. I bought, Zoe, do you happen to have a Band-Aid? No, I'm okay. I'm okay. I just don't want to. Yeah. I bought this Brie cheese that I thought it was like a triangle, but a decent sized triangle for each board because we were making 20 individual boards. It was like this soupy Brie cheese that didn't come out of. It was meant to be like spreadable. I missed that on the package, and it was just funny because my sister was actually up here, Catherine again, helping me with the gala. We do a gala, and she's like, "What are we going to do with 20 packs of slippery cheese?" I'm like, so I put it all in a bowl, and I mixed cranberries and brown sugar with it, and it made this amazing spread on crackers. It was so good. Sorry, I just don't want to bleed on your.
So was it in a rind and you took it out of the rind?
No, it was one of those things where it was like a creamy. It looked like a wedge of cheese, and I thought it was just packaged that way, but it was just a creamy brie, like you would take a knife and put it on your cracker. This is, what did I get? I got double cream. I don't think it would matter if you got triple cream, but I'm just going to put the butter in here now. Oh, thank you. Okay. And I could have made this ahead of time just to save some time, but I just want to show you, like, it's relatively pain-free. It's pretty quick. It's just when you're cooking in front of 20 people, sometimes you feel like time is ticking and you're like, oh. Just sticking this. Can you open one more for me?
Because it's quick, but then when you think if you're making the whole Thanksgiving dinner on top of that, really
Oh, this you could make easily, like the morning before. Cover it with saran wrap and put it in your fridge. Absolutely. This is a great one for that. And I would say you could just take it out of the oven, put it on your cookie tray, and put it in the oven. You don't have to let it sit on the counter or anything because it's going to melt. Absolutely. Don't forget to get the rosemary. I just want to make sure I'm not bleeding on your brain. But you see what happened there is I nicked myself. I didn't even feel it because my knife was so sharp. And then I was all of a sudden like, I saw I cut my top of my finger off one night at our Christmas party, and I ruined like this incredible batch of mushrooms I've been cooking all day. And I was like, do you think I have to tell him? And he's like, well, the tip of your finger is in the mushroom.
Bullshit, yeah.
I was like, I guess.
We got the lucky mushroom.
Just outfitting. Okay, so almost done. Almost done. Woo.
You have the sliced butter in there.
I have the sliced butter in there. And the brie. Just kind of putting it everywhere. And what you could do, like if you bought, like I bought that and opened it, you could then put it off to the side, you know, with crackers, but just put like a little sprinkle some brown sugar on top, and then put a few cranberries and just put it on a dish with crackers, because the brown sugar is really nice, breaking down the brie. And you don't waste it, and you've got the ingredients right there. Okay, so there's our second guy. Definitely putting on a glove. Okay. Yes, I'm going to put some nuts on there. I'm definitely going to put some nuts on there. That's a good question. I use, you know what, I have a mixture. I have a big thing of it in my cupboard. And I have, right now, I have light brown sugar. But I bet there's a few cups of dark brown sugar in there, because I usually mix it. I like it that way. That I don't think matters.
Can you make the mushrooms ahead of time too?
So make the mushroom mixture ahead of time, and then you can put your mushrooms out on a tray and cover it with foil if you don't have one of these, which you probably don't, they're really hard to find. Cover it with foil, and so just refrigerate them separately, and then just do them, yeah.
Tray on here.
What, love?
Tray of mushrooms is going to come out in
Oh, yeah. Okay.
damage the table.
Or you can put it on this. We can put it on the board
Oh, okay.
in a minute, yeah.
So you,
Okay. So yeah, so I am adding the pecan. Thank you. You could also add walnuts. I love walnuts. I have a great recipe for you guys. I'll tell you in a minute. It has nothing to do with this at all, but it's so great for the holidays. And you use brie. It's a brie recipe. Okay, and then I'll put these guys on. Whoops, I'll get the runaway cranberry. Okay, so that is really pretty. I'm just going to take a picture of this because somebody asked me, what does this look like? Okay. So do you want to switch? Should we switch?
same temperature.
We could lower it, but if the let me go look. Let me just go look at the mushrooms, and I'll be right back. But bring the bread,
Yep.
please. Yeah, you can show everybody if they can't see back here.
The four. Yeah, sure.
Okay, so these are the mushrooms. And everyone's going to get one. Oh. They smell beautiful, right? Okay, here's a little tip. If you're doing your turkey, if you're doing this the same day, you see the au jus from the mushrooms? There's some water from that, but it also tastes like mushrooms. And you can use that to use in your gravy. And that is really delicious.
I love that book you're talking about, Fat and Salt.
Oh yeah,
Oh my God.
yeah,
One
Fat
of
Salt
my,
Acid.
one of my favorite, and she's so like, you've seen her.
Yeah, I love her show.
So geekily.
She's a lovely person.
Yeah.
That's,
Yes. Yeah.
it's been,
Yes.
You'll have to do like a, you know,
Well, I hope.
when is it coming out?
Well, my goal is this year.
I'm not gonna have one because I'm vegetarian.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
No worries. I just don't want you to put it out.
there might be some spares, I think.
Okay. So when you eat this, you can just pick it up, but we're giving you a little fork. You could also just pick it up. It's going to be really hot for a few minutes. What I might do is, if I was at home or I was doing them for your party, I might put a little more Parmesan and just put them under the broiler for like 3 or 4 minutes. The easiest way is if you, do you mind coming up to get one? You can come up and get one. Come and get them while they're hot. Let's start with this table here. In a nice row, please. I don't want any fighting over there. Yeah, so I use bamboo mostly for all my
And if you want to,
catering or whatever, unless they request China, for something very formal. But the bamboo looks lovely. Yeah, and it's compostable, and people really like that. And they come in different sizes, like 4, 6, 10. For our daughter's graduation party this year, we did 10-inch squares, and they were great because we had all different kinds. They stand up to everything, so they don't fall apart. I do, because they're the best price on that. For that particular situation. Oh, so here's a great recipe. For, this is like a winner. You take a Brie like this size, an 8-ounce Brie, and you put it in like a ramekin, like either a round dish, a baking dish, ramekin, Pyrex, something where it's not much bigger than the Brie. Okay? Then take a red onion and slice it very thin on a mandolin if you have it, but very thin, and caramelize an onion. Maybe 2 red onions. To caramelize, you want your onion really thin, keep it in rings, and just start it on a hot pan and add your onion. You can add a little bit of sugar. You can either add white sugar or brown sugar to get the juices coming out of the onion, but don't add too much liquid because you want it to caramelize on its own. And watch it, because it'll burn if you don't. So stay with it. If you need to loosen it in your pan a little bit, just add like a tish of water, because the water will evaporate. So don't add oil, add water. So caramelize your onion. Put that on top of your Brie. Then put crushed pistachios and craisins. And bake it at 320 for 25 minutes, and no one will ever leave your house. We serve it with baguette. I can send you the recipe if you email me, but it's Brie, caramelized onion, pistachios, craisins, 320 for 20 minutes, 20 to 25. Oh.
Did you get Abby in it too?
Oh. Yeah. Here, come here. Come here. Thanks. I'm just breaking this apart, as you can see. Woo. It's super hot, so some might be bigger than others. Don't worry, I'll come back.
What do you think is a good amount of time for like do you have like a schedule like appetizers and cocktails and then?
Well, I was raised in a house that we had formal Sunday dinner, and it started at 4 o'clock with sherry and appetizers and music. And I kind of think about that always at the holidays. I think like an hour to an hour and a half, because people are arriving. I try not to stuff people silly, actually, because then you kind of don't want to eat dinner. So I try to do high protein, something like this, because on the holidays people like it. And, always have like some music, and it gives people a chance to talk and get to know each other. And then the other thing is to set your table, if you can, a day or two ahead of time. I mean, that's a luxury that has not been afforded to me, because I'm usually cooking other people's dinners, but when I can, I do. And I always think it's good to put little things. I'm a very big put little probing questions at the table, or a question under everybody's placemat, something non-inflammatory, and something fun, like what's your favorite color? Maybe nothing political, And just because it gets people starting to talk if they don't know each other or they haven't seen each other for a while. I also warm my plates, because if I don't, I get in big trouble by the matriarch of the family.
Get some people to come up.
Oh yeah, why don't you come? You're being shy. Come and grab this as we plate it, because it's so nice when it's hot.
Your house, people pulling it apart on their own, or you're cutting it a little bit more, or
At my house? Well, I'm pulling it apart for you guys so you can play with it on your own plate. At my house, I'd probably have it out with a knife and the plates to the, these plates stacked so they could make a little, because it looks pretty like this. And I'm just doing this so you can taste everything. Come on, come on. Let's eat. Let's eat. You're welcome.
One I was gonna take.
No fighting.